Welcome to Build Your Maverick Business, the podcast for underdog, outlier, and renegade entrepreneurs. Brought to you by Strange Creative Studio. If you dream of going off on your own and launching your rebel empire, but don't know where to start, you're in the right place. We'll teach you how to use mindset, branding, and practical advice to build a killer business and transform your world. And now, here's your host, founder of Strange, Alex Pitt.
Hi everyone. I hope you have had a wonderful week since I spoke to you last. I'm ready to drop dead. It's been a week, guys. It's been a week. Bearing in mind, I'm recording this on a Wednesday. So we're not even that far through. Yeah, it's there's a lot going on here. It is chaos at Strange HQ. Organised chaos, don't get me wrong. Everything's getting done. And if I do say so myself, it looks great. So, all good stuff. Nothing to worry about. However, I'm going to be brutally honest with you at the beginning of this podcast, guys. And I like to think that I am honest with you when it comes to what it's like to run a business. Don't want to pull the wool over your eyes. Don't want to sugarcoat anything. Always want to be real with you. This week has been very tough on me. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but my word, I think I've lost count of how many meltdowns I've had in the last few days. It's been a lot. Fortunately, I've managed to contain them so that only poor Joe has been privy to these little meltdowns. But I tell you what, if ever you feel like having a meltdown, just do it. It makes you feel so much better afterwards. I do have one every now and then, and do you know what? Joe is always there to pick me up off the floor, so thank you very much, Joe. And the reason that I'm starting with this, not just so that everyone could be like, oh God, is she all right? Yeah, don't worry, I'm all good. I promise, I'm good. No, whenever I get like this, Joe knows exactly what to say to me. And first of all, he tells me to breathe and calm down and reminds me that we are not dealing in vital organs and no one's going to die, which I do need to be reminded of sometimes when things get a little bit overwhelming. No one is going to die. But one thing he always says to me, which really, really, really helps and really sticks with me because it's so true. It's so true in every single situation you'll ever face in your business or in life in general. Look at me getting all wise on a Wednesday. The thing that he says to me is everything is figure-outable. Right? Everything is figure-outable. Now, this is so true that I decided to do a whole podcast about it. That and the mindset shift that you need to get into if you are going to be able to be the leader that you need to be to run your own business. Now, I talk about my dad a lot on this podcast, mostly because I am just a small version of him. My nickname at home is Small Vince. His name is Vince, in case that wasn't clear. Oh God, it's a struggle today, guys. Bear with me. Anyway, my dad is an absolute hero for very many reasons. I talk about him a lot. And if you listen back to the episode about combating imposter syndrome, I talk about how he gave me an amazing piece of advice once. Now, I'm not going to tell you what that is, but it involves Colin. And if you don't know who Colin is, go back, guys. Come on, you've got a bit of catching up to do. No, my dad gave me two incredible pieces of advice that really stuck with me when I was younger. The first one, you have to go and listen to another episode to hear. But this one I really, really like because it's very much shape how I approach all things in my life now. And that is, there's a knack to everything, right? There's a knack to everything. Knack spelt K-N-A-C-K. Now, what I mean by the knack, I think if you look up the definition of knack, it's finding a particular way of completing a task that's like an acquired skill. It's just a little trick of the hand. It's a little technique that once you get the knack, it makes it really easy. Now, this always came up when we were doing things like, I don't know, playing badminton in the garden, or that made us sound so posh. I mean the kind of badminton rackets you get for kids in Tesco. Like, I did not come from a super posh family, just to clarify. No, like when we were playing games, when I was trying to figure things out, my dad would always say, you've just got to find the knack, and then it makes it a little bit easier, right? Definitely stuck with me. Now, the knack that I found to being an entrepreneur, and I don't want to create like a really clickbaity title for this podcast. I haven't decided what it is, but I might just have to go a little bit clickbaity. Because if anyone were to ask me, what is the one thing that you need to be really, really good at to be an entrepreneur? Like, if you just had to master one skill, would it be public speaking? Would it be managing people? What's the one thing you need to go in being really good at to be a great entrepreneur? Do you know what I'd say? Do you know what the knack is to being an entrepreneur? Googling shit. It's not that deep. You need to get really good at Googling stuff. Before I started recording this, I tried to research a quote that I have sitting in the back of my mind. I cannot remember for the life of me where this came from and where I heard it from, but that the strength of a successful entrepreneur lies in how good you are in Googling stuff. It's so true. And it comes back to that idea that everything is figure-outable. Now, this podcast episode is not just a plug for Google, like they need a plug. Like, when was the last time you used a different search engine? Let's be honest. No, the point of this podcast is that you need to shift your mindset from, I don't know what I'm doing, into the mode of, I can figure this out. Now, if you're a maverick entrepreneur, which I assume you are if you're listening to this podcast, the chances are you're having to work things out as you go. Like, instead of learning by going through some kind of corporate route or learning from your parents or from other levels of experience, like wherever most people learn how to do this, you, like me, are just pissing in the wind and working it out as you go. Not necessarily the skills that you bring to your business, right? Let's hope that you know what you're doing in that area. But all of this other stuff that you just have to learn as you go. Sometimes it can feel really overwhelming and you don't know how you're going to get anything done. But if you are just working out as you go, so you should, right? There is no formula to this. There is no blueprint that you can follow to be an entrepreneur. You just have to work it out as you go. Now, I love to give you recommendations for books. This is basically like a book club at this point. A book that I absolutely love. It's called Mindset by Dr. Carol S. Dweck. Now, it's funny because a teacher friend of mine came round to our flat once and saw it on my shelf and said, "Oh, no way, you've read Mindset." And I was like, "Oh, yeah. I thought it was like a business book, though." And he said, No. This is something that teachers read so that we can teach kids that they need to have a growth mindset. Okay, so I'm going to backtrack. This book outlines the idea, the comparison between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. Now, if you have a fixed mindset, that's when you're in the camp of, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going to accept it. I'm just going to lay down and give up on my dreams because I'm not built for this. I'm just going to stop there. If you have a growth mindset, it's just opening yourself up to the fact that you will be able to figure something out. If you don't know how to do something, it doesn't mean that you won't ever be able to do it. Now, we live in an absolutely phenomenal time, right? I don't think there's ever been a better time to be an entrepreneur because there is so much on the internet that's just waiting for you to discover. No matter what problem you're facing, somebody else has done it. Somebody else has been there. And thank God for those people. Like, I always think, thank God for the people who leave reviews on things that they buy online, because I never do. But thank God that people take the time out to describe how, useful products are. And thank God for the people who go onto internet forums and answer people's questions when they're trying to fix things. Like, honestly, the best kind of humans. But you can honestly go and find out anything you need to. You can figure out anything. Whether or not it's like, how to make something in Photoshop, how to make an animation, how to fix your laptop when it breaks, how you should deal with a situation. Like, whether or not you're just Googling it, obviously there are other things to do apart from search on the internet. You can ask your network. You can ask for advice from somebody who does know what they're doing. You can book in an hour of somebody's time. You can figure anything out. No matter what it is, it's figure-outable. Now, a lot of the time, the problem isn't even the thing you're trying to fix, right? It's not even the thing you're trying to figure out. It's just your confidence in your own abilities. So getting into that growth mindset of thinking, I can do this. I don't know how, but I believe in my skills and abilities and my determination enough to get there. Like, that's the real hack. That's the shift that needs to happen. Because once you nail that, once you really believe that everything is figure-outable, there's no stopping you. I remember when I first started Strange, and this is before I'd really accepted the whole growth mindset thing, right? When it came to my business anyway, I think that I think that maybe I accepted it elsewhere, but I was just so overwhelmed at the thought of starting my own business that everything just seemed like terrifying and mystifying and how the hell am I going to do any of this? And I remember talking to my coach back then, and I had a freak out then as well. Have you noticed that I have a lot of freak outs? I had a complete freak out, complete meltdown. And I said that I didn't know if I was ready to start Strange. I didn't think I knew what I was doing. I didn't know how, I think specifically what I was worried about was that I didn't know how to price my services. I didn't know how to price things so that I could include other people rather than just paying myself. Freaked out and said, I've never done this before, don't know what I'm doing. And she did what she always do. She sighed sweetly and said, Alex, first of all, calm down. She said it much nicer than that. Not so many words. But she said, look, those are things that we can resolve in one short phone call together. Right? That's not something to worry about. No, you don't know how to do that yet, but you will learn how to do it. And I think it just baffled me that how suddenly I realised that she was absolutely right. That no, I didn't know how to do that. But that wasn't necessarily a problem. It was just something that I needed to learn. Now, my favourite quote on this, and this, I say my favourite quote, this is something that I remind myself of. This is like an Alex Pitt original quote, so you know it's going to be weird. But anyway, my favourite thing I like to remind myself of, whenever I'm facing something that I don't know how to do, whenever I'm freaking myself out and think, I don't know how I'm going to get to the next step, I just remind myself that there was a time in his life where Gordon Ramsay didn't know how to boil an egg. You got to start somewhere, guys. You got to start somewhere. Anyway, I hope that was a little bit of inspiration for you. Get into that growth mindset. There is nothing that you can't figure out. Google that shit. All right, my loves, you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll catch you here next time.
Got an idea for a maverick business of your own? Learn how to build a powerful brand that will get people obsessed with our online program, not just a pretty logo. You'll learn a simple step-by-step framework that will kickstart your killer brand and help you find your raving fan base. Find out more today at strangecreativestudio.com.